Hello gamers, Magehammer here for another edition of Tonight on Magehammer's Game Table, where tonight I'm continuing my series where I do solo RPG one-shot. Basically, I'm going to send a group of heroes down into a dungeon delve for one quest, and then I'm going to move on to another game system. This is the third in the series, fourth in the series, and I'm already moved on to one of my favorite home systems, Tiny Dungeon by Alan Barr and Gallant Knight Games. This is part of the Tiny D6 game engine. I am a huge fan of this. As you know, on this channel, I have Tiny Cthulhu Pulp campaigns running, or not running, but in playlists. You can go check those out if you like. And you can kind of see how the system works with the Pulp thing. But this will be the first time that I feature Tiny Dungeon. Second edition. Tiny Dungeon's the one that started it all. I believe someone else designed it, and then Alan Barr bought it off someone. Maybe Jonathan Thompson, not sure. Oh yeah, Brandon McFadden there, based on Tiny Dungeon, and then I believe Alan Barr bought it for Gallant Knight Games, and it's pretty much become his flagship game system. Alan Barr is a prolific designer. He's got all kinds of designs, and seems like a really great guy, and I really like his system. So I thought I would feature it in this series. So the thing about Tiny Dungeon is that it is a minimalist game. I'd say, I don't know if anybody really could argue it's not minimalist. Basically, the rules pretty much, without optional rules, is like 35 pages and probably could be scaled down a bit. Very simple, very cool, very fast in play. However, Tiny Dungeon does not hit my table as often as I would like, and I think one of the main reasons is because myself and the players, the magic system is a bit strong word, lacking. However, there is a excellent resource called the Micronomicon, I think it is. It has all kinds of spell options for Tiny Dungeon, so you can check that out. But I, of course, being the tinkerer that I am, I designed my own magic system for Tiny Dungeon 2e. Also, armor, it tends to be problematic for my players for some reason, and for me, just because it, believe it or not, for a minimalist game, I think it's one of the fiddliest rules in the game. So I also have designed a homebrew rule for that. Now, what he has designed here, of course, matches exactly what this game needs in the system that's already built in for armor and for spellcasting. However, I just wanted a bit more. And not only that, as a gamer, I've been tinkering with role-playing games since I started playing Basic and Expert back in 1982. So I've always tinkered with the rules. And so tabletop gaming is really great for that. It's a hobby that you can put your own input into, be very creative, and frankly, I think most people that have ended up being very serious about role-playing games over the years, and even some that aren't so serious, have become mini game designers themselves. I just think it's in us. It's part of our creative process. So that's why I have created these systems. Plus, it just makes it more fun for me. Now, I will be honest, this magic system that I designed one other magic system for Tiny Dungeon, but I decided I'd design another one for this one. And I think this system that I've designed for the magic system is a bit more to the spirit of Tiny Dungeon than my other system. It's a lot more minimalist, I guess. So let's take a look at that real quick, just so you know what I'm doing here. Okay, so I basically created two traits. The Armor Master trait, which armor in Tiny Dungeon adds 3 hit points. If you take the Armor Master trait, you get armor, and it adds 3 hit points to your hit points. But every hit point comes off once you've lost those 3 hit points. You have to repair your armor. It takes like 8 hours or whatever. And that just got to be a little too fiddly for the way I like to play. So instead, I created Armor Master trait. I just changed the Armor Master trait. Anyone can wear armor. And then armor comes in light, medium, and heavy. And light armor adds 1 to your hit points, medium 2 to your hit points, and heavy 3 to your hit points. And at the end of every combat battle that you have with the enemy, we do with cinematic armor. So it's kind of neat that Tiny D6 has a cinematic ammo rule in some of the pulp things, as well as you can also use it for fantasy, but also has cinematic optional items, like, you know, it has a slow but sure depletion system, which is pretty fun and cool. I pretty much ignore that because I pretty much ignore gear in most of the role-playing games I play anyway. However, I just basically adopted what Alan Barr has already done, only I applied it to armor. So at the end of every combat, each player must take a standard test for armor worn. Anyone who fails reduces their armor value by 1 until repaired. So I still kind of follow his rule. I make armor a little bit more sticky, I guess. The armor value can be restored or repairs at a rate of 1 hour per point. And then the Armor Master trait now adds 1 to the armor's value, and also cinematic armor rolls are made with advantage. I think that's pretty good. And as I've said many times before, I am not a how to play channel, so I'm just going to start playing. I think you'll pick up pretty easily how this game's played, even if you haven't watched anything Tiny D6 ever before. So my spellcasting, I created another trait, spellcasting. So spellcasting is a taxing, sometimes dangerous endeavor. So basically, to be a spellcaster in this game, for my games, you have to take the spellcasting trait. And then basically, you, as the player, decide what you want a spell to do and how much power you want it to have. And then you and the GM discuss it, and then you roll dice and see if it's successful. And if it isn't successful, there's a chance of failure. You can take hit point damage, and I call that spell burn. I adopted that from my 6 Dice Fantasy game. I have spell burn in my 6 Dice Fantasy game that I designed, and it is also featured on my channel if you'd like to check out those playlists. And so I've just pretty much ported that part of the rule over here. And as you can see here, let's say a guy says, a player says, I want to cast a magic missile at one person, and so they said I want it to do 1 hit point. So they send it off, 1 hit point, they roll with advantage, and if they fail anything, the spell is just not cast and you don't take any damage, but if they're successful, it hits the target for 1 hit point, which is pretty much a standard attack in Tiny Dungeon. Then they say, well, no, I want to hit him for 2 hit points. Well, there's a chance of failure now. So he rolls 2 dice. If he doesn't get a success, then he takes 1 hit point of damage and the spell's not successfully cast. And high power is disadvantage. You have to roll with disadvantage, which in this game is 1d6. And if they fail, they take 2 hit points of damage. But if they're successful, they can do 3 hit points to a single target or distribute it up to 3 targets. And then Ultra Power, they also roll disadvantage, but they can take 3 hit points of damage from spell burn, and they can hit 3 hit points to an area of effect. So there's like your fireball or your cone of cold or whatever they want the energy to be. So casting a spell as an action, they may only cast 1 spell per combat turn, which in Tiny D6, if you have a heavy weapon, which does 2 points of damage, you can only make 1 attack with a heavy weapon per round, where with another light weapon or a medium weapon, you can make 2 attacks. So you get 2 actions in this game per combat round. So anyway, I just wanted to, for you, and then of course I've ported over my Healing Stones rule I've been using from Basic Fantasy and others for this system as well. So, so those of you that are in the Tiny Dungeon or Tiny Dungeon enthusiasts, those are my house rules. You can let me know what you think in the comments down below. And in the meantime, I have created a party of adventurers for this. I have featured 2 of the races that I feel are pretty created characters of the 2 heritages. They call them heritages in this game. That are unique to Tiny Dungeon. The Salamar, which is like these little lizard folk, but not lizard folk. They're like more salamander folk, I guess. Anthropomorphic salamanders. And this guy's name's Cesar Slass. And basically, his heritage trait is pyrotechnic healing. If he gets hit with fire, he heals that many points of damage rather than takes that much damage. And then and also Tiny Dungeon is a classless system. I know there's archetypes in the Tiny Cthulhu, but they don't do archetypes in Tiny Dungeon. You pretty much just build your character the way you want it using the trait system. Basically, though, Cesar Slass, if I had to put it into a specific, is a thief. Okay, he has traits are nimble fingers, sneaky and perceptive, and he's wearing light armor, and he is proficient in light melee weapons and mastered in the short sword. Over here, we have a Karhuru. Let me know how you pronounce it down in the comments below. They are basically anthropomorphic bear people. And this is Burnfur Razorclaw. And he has the heritage trait of powerful claws. Basically, he's mastered in this. And I believe, did they do 2 damage? Let me check. I forgot already. Just designed them last night. And you cannot use ranged weapons. Right. Oh, You cannot use ranged weapons, but I gave him a ranged weapon. Oops, I missed that part. So anyway, I thought they were heavy, but they're not. They are a medium weapon, so he basically gets +1 with that. Or not +1, it does 1 hit point when it hits. I will have to change that. He no longer has that short bow, darn it. He runs his stuff down and kills it. So we're going to make him proficient in light melee. And he's wearing light armor, and his claws are his main weapon, I suppose. I know he's carrying a mace around. I guess he could technically do a Morning Star if he wanted, but we're going to stick with the claws, I guess. All right, anyway, so there's also lizard folk, goblin, and tree folk, plus fae, which are elves and dwarves. And of course, they have a zine called Tiny Zine. And is that pronounced 2 different ways in the same sentence? Yes, I did. And they have different races or heritages. Sorry, they have different heritages and those that you can go look at. And I have a human and a dwarf here. The dwarf is Horgar Dwarf Shield, and the human is Gondorin Blevin. And so we're going to see my magic system in play. We'll see how that works. And basically, Horgar is basically a dungeoneer. And he's a pretty heavy tank. He's wearing heavy armor, and he's carrying a shield. He has Shield Bearer and Dark Vision as his heritage trait. Dungeoneer, which gives him advantage on checks down in a dungeon, which is going to come in handy in a one-shot delve. And then he is proficient in light melee, so he has his battle axe here. Then Gondor Blevin is basically a good old-fashioned magic user. He has my spellcasting trait. He's educated. And we're going to give him Resolute, which gives him saves on save tests. So he's a little more resilient than he looks. And so that's that. That's the introduction to the characters. So without further ado, let's get to our adventure and see what they're going to be questing for down in the dungeon tonight. So we need a D12. And they need to be sent in to assassinate an evil NPC. I don't like that as much. I think I've already... No, I had to capture an NPC. 12, assassinate a noble. Wow, the dice really want me to assassinate somebody. Not that I'm necessarily against that, but I'm not feeling that either. So let's give it one more roll, and this will be, no matter what comes up, this is what it's going to be. Map out the ruins. Now, that's boring. I take it back. We're not going to be doing that. Let me just choose then, I guess. Rescue adventurers. That sounds interesting. Let's see what the obstacle is, see if I like it. Maze no. So they have to rescue adventurers. There's going to be 2 adventurers. We'll see if they're together. And they are... And I'll say that the adventurers were down there supposedly to map out the ruins, but that never came back. And so one of them is Liwu Tobin. And the other one is Robert Hugo. All right, so Liwu and Robert need to be rescued by our adventurers. Also for tonight, I have this tiny dungeon monster deck. I've taken out the monsters I think that will not pretty much appear in the dungeon. And I have them here, handy dandy little thing. You don't absolutely need it. The other thing is that I have monsters on my encounter table over here that I may not have cards for, but good thing Tiny Dungeon is a very minimalist approach to things, and that I can easily, they have a enemies chart in here. I can pretty much just kind of wing it as far as something that comes along that I don't have a card for. Okay, so that was a huge preamble, and I do apologize, but I felt it was necessary to establish everything for you. All right, so we're on our mission, And as always, I'll be using the excellent Axebane's Deck of Many Dungeons to generate my dungeons. And we begin with a starter. Stairs down into the dungeon. And T-junction. So here we go. They go down the stairs. They look to their right. They see a corridor filled with doors. They look to their left, and there's also a corridor filled with doors. Now, when you get to this kind of thing, you have to take a king and put it down. So I'm actually going to replace this one, because this one's more interesting because it has monsters in it, and put this here. Okay. And that question mark will be the quest goal stairs down. So since this is only the first level, of course I'm not going to have the kids be right there. So this will be stairs down to the next level. So these folks, the adventurers, have to decide what direction they want to go. So I say let's fates decides. And then Burnfur says, nope, not going to happen. See, here's what's going to happen. I'm going to track. I'm going to do some tracking. So Burnfur I grew up with my family, a bunch of trappers, and we were familiar with tracking. And I could track inside, outside, I could track anything on Earth. So I'm going to track. I'm going to see which direction they went. So he is going to make a tracking test. And since he has it as a trait, he gets advantage. And he needs a 5 or 6 on any of these dice. He gets a 6. So he is successful. Yep. Nope. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. Looks like they went both ways. However, looks like they went this way first, and then something dragged them this way. Looks like they encountered whoever kidnapped them right off the bat. You mean bats as in flying mammals? No, I meant bat as in club. That's what we called out in the wilderness. We called a club a bat. We call a club a bat. And would you two stop? Please, let us begin. So what direction are we going? Well, I say we go to the left, see if we can find any clues. Then we'll go to the right and follow their tracks. Wait, shouldn't we go after them where they are now instead of exploring? Well, I guess maybe that means they're in trouble. I didn't think about that. I was too excited about following their tracks. Yes, but if there's something in that room, we must not have it at our backs. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you sneak down there and see if you can hear anything? Good idea. So the Salamar slinks down the hall, listens at both doors. So it listens at the first door. Since Cesar Slass has perceptive, I'm going to give him advantage on this roll. So all 3 dice, looking for a 5, 6 on any of them. And gets a 6, so he doesn't hear anything here, and then listens to the second door and gets a success. So slinks back and says, there are voices behind that door. He whispers even more whispery than usual. Now let's see what is on the other side of that door. Let's see if it was making noise. There was a clicking. He said noises, not voices, right? Noises. Clicking sounds. I don't know about clicking sounds. That doesn't sound to me like it's anything. Not voices, not people talking. No, clickings. Well, I don't know, I guess up to you guys. Enough of this. Let's go this way. We must rescue these. They've already been missing too many days. So they head down the hall to the right. They open the door, and they see table, chairs, chests, and a stairway down, and also some pillars. I'm going to roll randomly to see if whoever took the adventurers, Lowen and Robert, if they are left behind guards. So I'm going to say I guess they figured that somebody might be coming after these kids, but we're not quite sure exactly why they want these adventurers. So I'm going to say it's a 1 in 2 chance. So on a 1 or a 2, they left guards. Oh, they left guards. All right, let's see who they are and what these guards are. It's going to dictate a lot about. So that's a gas. Ooh, that's undead. I like it. Let's do it. All right, so they have not yet opened the door. Slash does his hearing thing, listens at the door. He gets a success. And so he says he doesn't hear anything, though, because the thing that's behind that is not going to be that noisy. All right, so I don't have a card for that, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say a Ghast is a... let's say it's a medium enemy, and I'm going to give them 4 hit points. And I'm also going to have, if they get struck by the Ghast, they have to make a save test or be paralyzed. I think that's fair. All right, so let's see how many Ghasts there are. I'm going to say 1 to 3. There is 1. So there's 1 Ghast standing guard. He's milling about by the stairs as they open the door. And of course, Karu opens the door. And so the Ghast's head snaps around his undead head, and his eyes have a slight glow like embers behind them. And he is intrigued by the interlopers. Okay, so we're going to... And then these are stairs down. We'll just have this card be the stairs down. And then there's pillars in this room. 6 of them. And of course, our heroes are coming in through a door. So we'll get that set up. And a door. Double door, if you will. So there you go. So they're coming in there. Karu leading. There is a Ghast down there. So I know that I was looking in these boxes last. There he is. Jeez, oh man. Okay. I knew he was here somewhere. Okay, cool. So he's standing here by the stairs. The heroes come in, and I suppose it's on. And so the Ghast, or we're going to roll initiative. So initiative in tiny d6s, everybody makes a test. And if you have a certain trait, you get advantage on initiative, but they don't have that trait, so they just all make a standard test. Anyone who's successful goes before the enemy, and anybody that's successful goes after. So we've got the wizard goes after, but Burnfur goes before, as does Sisar Slass, and also Horgar. So everybody but the wizard goes before the Ghast. So Burnfur's like, argh! Now in Tiny Dungeon, you get pretty much all Tiny D6 games, you get 2 actions, and so his action is going to be move and attack. He attacks with his claws on the Ghast. The Ghast is, a bit smelly, but he's going to do it anyway. Oh, Ghast is the one. Yeah, you know what? As it gets closer, I'm going to have to make him a save test to see if he can. If not, he's going to have disadvantage on his attacks. Okay, so he made the save, so he's not affected by its stench, and he attacks. He gets his claws. And he hits, so he does 1 point of damage to the Ghast, and I'm giving the Ghast, did I say 5 hit points? You know what, even if I did say that, it's 5 hit points now. So the Ghast is now down to 1. All right. Then, next up was not the Ghast, it was the Dwarf. He moves a little slower. And so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So he's there. Cesar Slass is really interested in those chests that are over here. And then the Ghast attacks Burnfur. And since the Ghast has... the Ghast, he gets 2 attacks because he hasn't moved, and those will be his 2 actions. And he gets 1 success, so he hits Burnfur for a point of damage. And so Burnfur is down to 7 hit points. And he must make a save or be paralyzed. So he needs to make a save test, and he fails. Now, I'm using the grit rules that you've seen in my Tiny Cthulhu Pulp game. They can re-roll. They can spend 3 to have an attack miss. They can spend 2 to heal 1d3 hit points, or they can spend 1 to re-roll a test. In this case, I guess it's kind of early, but he's going to use a grit to re-roll and see that re-roll that save test. And he still fails. So unfortunately, that was grit not well spent, and he is now paralyzed. So I'm going to put him down on the floor just to remind myself that he is paralyzed. So then that brings us to Blevin. So Blevin's going to come in. He sees that his friend's paralyzed, so he's going to send out a 2 hit point Fire Blast. So that's a standard test according to my home rules. And he fails, so he takes a hit point of damage from Spellburn, and no spell is cast. So, ouch. He just got too excited and didn't concentrate enough. All right, now it's initiative. Okay, so the wizard goes before this time. However, the dwarf goes after. Burnfur is paralyzed, and so Burnfur's paralyzed, and the wizard goes first. The other 2 go after the ghoul. So the wizard's like, he's going to try to hit it. He's going to try to hit it again with a 2 hit point bolt, and he is successful that time. So he does 2 points of damage to the creature instead of to himself this time. So the ghast reels in pain, or not pain, just reels backwards as the force of the fire bolt hits him. And now it's his action, and he normally, every instinct in this ghast body wants him to eat Burnfur, but he's not going to do that. He does not like that fire, so he's going to go after Blevin. Blevin has not cast any kind of defensive spell, so this could get a little messy. However, the dwarf is close enough that the dwarf has to make a save versus the stench. And he does, so he is unaffected by the stench for this combat. Okay, and then he moves up on Blevin, and he himself also has to make a save test, but he's resolute, so he gets advantage on saves. And he makes it. He gets 1 success, so he is not affected by the stench of the ghast either, but the ghast attacks him. Now, the ghast moves, so he only gets 1 attack. So still hits, rolls at 6. So Blevin takes 1 hit point of damage. He's down to 4, and he must make a save test or be paralyzed. Now, that's not great either. So he is paralyzed. However, he is going to use a grit as well to re-roll that save test. And he fails again. So he is also paralyzed. This ghast is just mowing down the party. 1 ghast. Good thing I didn't have multiple ghasts. And so that brings us now to Horgar attacks. Moves up on the thing and attacks. So he had to move, so he only gets 1 attack with his battle axe. And so here he goes. He is mastered in his battle axe, and he gets a 6. So he hits and does 1 point of damage. The ghast is reeling a bit. He's got chunks of his rotted flesh off of his body, but is still active. And so that brings us now to Sisar Slass. Sisar Slass moves right on the other side of this. He can sneak in there behind the thing and stabs the ghast around the pillar. And he tries, and he misses. And he's not going to use a grit point for that. So now it is initiative. So these 2 roll initiative. The other 2 are paralyzed. They go before the ghast, which is good news. Sisar Slass attacks. Ooh, hits. Beautiful. I used to have I think in Tiny Pulp I have oh yeah, it's Dramatic Knockout. I'm not using that. That's in the Pulp rules, that if I had rolled this in Tiny Pulp, automatically knocked this creature out. However, it doesn't matter because he does damage and drops the ghast anyway. His short sword goes up through its what's left of its brain pan and takes it out. So to get rid of paralysis, they have to use 2 charges from their healing stone. And Horgar's like, we need to get them unparalyzed and moving. Agreed. So they each drain 2 charges off of their healing stones. I'm going to use some of these things too. So they each spend 2. So yeah, I'll track them with these wonderful gaming tokens. He's got 3. That way we'll keep track of their healing, because apparently it's going to become an issue. All right, so they both are unparalyzed. And Burnfur has taken some damage, but he's okay. So we're going to do a cinematic test for Burnfur's armor, since he took a hit. And he is not an armor master. And it fails, so his light armor is pretty much useless now, and he basically loses a hit point. So he is now down to 7 hit points. So, I mean, 6 hit points, 7 total. 8 is his normal, but he's wounded. So his armor has been sliced by that gas thing beyond giving him protection. So he loses that extra hit point from the armor, as per my cinematic armor rules. The Ghast also hit Blevin, but Blevin wasn't wearing armor, so you don't have to make that roll. And neither of the other 2 characters were hit, so we don't have to test for their armor. Okay. So now they head down the stairs, and we'll see what they can see as they head down the stairs. Now that they managed to recover a bit. Okay. All right. So stairs leading down, and they come to a T-junction. They look to the right. There's some doors. They look to the left. And more doors. Okay, so once again, that looks very interesting though for exploration, or they could have a combat. You know what? I'll roll which one of these sides is the way down. And my original plan for the series is that no more than 3 levels to get to the goal of whatever goal is rolled for the session. So this is the 2nd level. So one of these sides is going to lead downwards into the 3rd level. So 1, 2, 3, it's this one leads down. 4, 5, 6, this one leads down. 3, so it is this one leading down. So we have to put a thing here, and I will roll to see if there's a monster in there. 1, 2, there's a monster. There's no monster, no guardians there. There were some chests I forgot in the room above, so Cesar Slass is going to check them out. He gets advantage on those because he is nimble-fingered, and he checked for traps, and he didn't find anything, so he's going to try to unlock. He couldn't unlock one of them. The other one checks for traps. He doesn't find any traps. He goes to open it. He does open it, and it's empty. So all that for nothing. It's just fun. All right, rolling dice is always fun, right? Well, looks like there's stairs down there. Or we can look down here and go to look at these doors and see if they have them trapped there. Tracker, see what direction they went. So Burnfur walks up, puts himself down, starts sniffing at the floor, looking back and forth. He's going to make a tracker check. And he says, they went that way. And he points towards this direction. It did not seem that they bothered even heading to the right there. It just, they headed left right for them stairs. And pretty much as I can tell, there's not much going on there. This is not a dwarven delve. If it were, it would have been built better. Yeah, well, anyway, it looks like they went that way. So they go in there, they look around. Let me check out that chest, says Cesar Slass. Goes up, checks it for traps. No trap. And he opens it, and he cannot master the lock. We don't have time for this. Let's get moving. These kids could be in trouble. So they're going after your adventures. They go down the stairs. That was quick. Sometimes that's the way it is, folks. Especially with the tracker ability, you know. So, came in handy. All right. So, they take the stairs down, and it is yet another. That seems to be very consistent with this delve. I like it. The cards always help tell the story. And they look to the right. There's a passageway with a monster on the other side of the rubble. Let's see what kind of monster it is before we determine whether they can see it or not. It is 55. Oh, yeah. They see something moving behind that rubble. They take a quick look down here, and they see a hallway. And there is movement there. I'm going to see if the monster runs away real quick. First of all, see how many there are. So I'll say that there's 1d3 plus 1. So that's 4 of them. And they see 4 here in this hallway of the adventurers. And they decide that they're hungry and they're going to go after them. So they come crawling over the rubble. And they are, they look vaguely frog-like-ish. And as they begin to slowly make their way down the hall, an overwhelming stench starts to roll towards the adventurers. So they see these creatures coming their way. Oh, by the way, they have light. The only one that has dark vision is Horgar. Light, of course, is being cast by Gondor, I guess that goes without saying. Maybe it does need saying? I don't know. Anyway, so I just said it, so there you go. All right. Yeah, there we go. So, 4 of these almost frog-like guys come down the hall towards them. They're wielding clubs, going after, and they're licking their wet lips as they head down this hall towards the party and its initiative. Okay, I think I do have a card for these guys. And I would be wrong. So I'm going to have them have a stench. So as they get closer, everybody has to make a save test. They're in the hall here. They're coming down the hall at them. The hall continues this way. And we'll see who wins initiative. They came in, I guess, here. No, I'll make it here. All right, there we go. Okay. How'd that look on the camera? Good enough. All right, so there's a hallway this way as well. But they came in this hall here, and they're in the hall, and we're going to roll initiative. So, all right, looks like Burnfur goes last or after the troglodytes. As the troglodytes get closer, they're going to have to make a test. But right now, I'm going to have them down the hall a little further here. Right now, there you go. Okay, so Blevin is like, I want to cast a burst at them and try to take them all down now. Well, not about all down. These troglodytes, I'm going to give 3 hit points each. So he's going to try a fireball, basically. So he rolls 1 die, and he needs a success. If he fails, the spell fails, and he takes 3 hit points of damage. So he moves up. That's first action. Second action is cast a burst spell at them. And he is successful. Boom, 3 points of damage each one of them, and whites them out. Now, if they'd had a few more hit points, it may not have been that easy. That'll teach them. Yes. Do your tracking thing. So he gets down on the floor, sniffs. And I don't know what direction they went, so we're going to figure out. 1, 2, 3, this way, 4, 5, 6, that way. 3, they went that way. They went that way. More to the left again. So they start heading down the hall, this direction, and there's going to be a monster around the corner. So they come around the corner. There's monsters lurking in the hall. See what it is. They can't see the monsters yet. Let's see what the monsters are. 22. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's a very skinny hallway. It's 5 feet wide. And then it turns this direction. All right. So, Burnfur is leading, followed by Horgar, Blevin, and him. Now, Blevin's going to cast a spell, and Blevin's like, I want armor. So he's going to cast a spell that he wants to last a while. So it's, and he wants it to be heavy armor. So that's 3 hit points to himself. So it's going to be to keep his heavy armor and for it to last a while. He's gonna make it a high power. So he has disadvantage, and he fails that. He's going to use grit because he really wants this armor and he really wants that heavy armor. And he fails again. Now he's going to use his last grit. I don't know if that's advisable or not, but he's going to do it. He really wants to. Okay, so he failed and he takes 2 hit points. So he finally failed on that. So. Very well. So he casts an easy one to at least, or no, a mid-power one to try to get himself a. Okay, so he's able to get 2. He's able to get the equivalent of that. So basically, it adds 2 hit points on to his total. It's not healing. It's just 2 more hit points. And did anybody take damage? No, they cast fireball, so they don't have to make cinematic armor. And then here is down the hall. Are some beetles of some kind, and they look to be, it almost seems to them that they might be glowing. So we'll pretend this is a beetle. We'll pretend this is a beetle. We'll just make it 4 beetles, sure. Click, 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 click. These only have 1 hit point each. And they are, but if they die, they explode for 2 hit points to things, and they explode in fire. So that might help the Sisar Slash. Okay, so we're going to roll initiative because the beetle starts scuttering down the hall at them. So the wizard, Blevin goes first. Burnfur goes first. Everybody goes before the beetles, so I guess that works. All right, so that brings us to Burnfur. He doesn't care. He runs down and he attacks that beetle. So he moved. He gets 1 attack. He's mastered in his claws, and he misses. Okay. Next up is Horgar. Horgar's going to come down there, but it's tight space, so he can't really get in there. Blevin is going to... He's going to cast a bolt of force at the one at the end of the hall. He can kind of see over his 2 buddies the best he can. He gets 1 success. He hits 1 point, so it gets destroyed. He hits it, boom, but then it explodes. And so Burnfur has to make a save or take 2 points of damage. And he fails and he takes 2 points of damage. So poor Burnfur is at 4 hit points. Hey, careful! And so, that wasn't cool. Now we go to Sisar. He sneaks by his buddy and moves down the hall. All right, then the beetles attack. There's really only one beetle. One beetle's able to attack Burnfur, so he attacks Burnfur. And hits, and does 1 point of damage to Burnfur. So things are getting worse for Burnfur. And the other beetles make their way down the hall, and there's nothing else they can do. Initiative. And all right, so Horgar is going to go after. Everybody else is going to go before. So Burnfur just claws at this guy in front of him. Mastered with his claws, rolls advantage, and he hits, knocks it out, and it explodes. He makes to make a save. His body is... He makes a save so it doesn't take any damage, and he shields it from his companions down the hall. And then he moves. Horgar moves up. Oh, I guess, yeah. Sisar sneaks around Horgar, gets to here. Blevin moves down here. Blevin has... Yeah, okay. So then it is the beetles attack. 1 beetle attacks Burnfur. Click, 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 click. And hits. Burnfur takes another hit point of damage. Burnfur is taking it. And so then it is Horgar's, and he just stands there. Initiative. I mean, what else are you going to do, man? Okay, so... So, Sissar and Burnfur go after the Beetles, and the other two go before. Blevin is like, stand to the side. And so they kind of move a little bit, and he shoots a force bolt down there, try to hit that one in front of Burnfur. He hits, does a point of damage. It explodes. Burnfur has to make a save. He makes it, takes no damage, and they are down to one fire Beetle. Then, next up is Sissar, I think. Or no, yeah, Sissar. I can't remember. Yeah, I think it was Sissar. And he sneaks around his buddy and attacks it. And he is using a short sword, so he's mastered with that. And he hits, kills it, and it blows up in him. And he doesn't need to make a save. He is healed a point of damage. So that's nice. Oh. Those weren't his hit points. These are his. So real quick after that one explodes, Burnfur uses his healing stone to heal himself. 2 hit points, so it brings him to 4. And he's not taking any chances, so he uses another of his. Uses another charge. Rolls a d3. And that is 4 more hit points. So that brings him to full. So he's fully healed with 1 charge left on his healing stone. Sissar healed up 1. Blevin is injured, but he has his armor up, so he's going to keep that. And frankly, Horgar has not been hit, so that's pretty good. So make their way down the hall. They get to the end of the hall, and what do they find? Ooh. A collapsed bridge with a monster on the other side. All right, so see what that monster is. 14 cultists and a leader. Lots of cultists in this series so far. Yeah, I guess that makes sense too. I mean, that's telling the story. And there's a cult leader, and he's the only one there. And there's bones and blood everywhere. And he says, you know what? Let's see. One, it's a female. Nope, it's a male. And he says, welcome to their destruction. I don't think so. Blevin steps forward. Where are the mappers, the adventurers that came here? Oh, we sacrificed them. It was glorious. What? Yes. I fed them their blood to my dark god. Then, while my followers were in the throes of the ecstasy of blood, I ended their lives and sacrificed them to Mordenmall. It was delicious. And now I have collapsed the bridge, so I myself shall be here as a sacrifice to Mordenmall, as I slowly starve in glory, looking over all the bones of my sacrifices. And I threw them in the pit. Mordenmall's hungry pit. So Sissar says, Burnfur, are you sure that they came this way? Yes, I am. Unfortunately, I am. Not only does it look like it and smell like it, but I see things they've dropped. I'm afraid. If you really doubt, look at this head here. He pulls up one of the heads and it fits the description of one of Robert, and he tosses it into the pit. Feed Mordenmall's endless pit of hunger. Blevin is not happy, and he sends a high-powered shot at the cultist, and he misses, and he takes 2 hit points from Spellburn, but he doesn't care. I hope you rot. That's okay. Don't worry, your friends live on inside of me. And so they can't, it's not worth it. Let's get out of here and report back to their families. There needs to be justice. Justice sometimes, I don't think it's worth it. We're not getting across there. He's not worth it. Those poor kids are dead. Came here to map a ruin and died. I say we head back and report it. I'm not taking any pay for this mission. So Burford just goes. Cesar says, the Bearman has a point. I'm going with him. Blevin shrugs, says, I'm sorry, Horgar. I tried. I can sit here and take pot shots at him all day, but I'm wearing myself out. He'll die. Horgar pulls out his crossbow. He has disadvantage with the crossbow because he's not proficient in it, and he lets fly one last arrow, one last bolt, and he hits the guy. I feel better. Yes. My death will come faster. And he runs and jumps into the pit and just plummets down to death. Kathor, give me the strength. They make their way. There's no real reason to continue looking anywhere else here. They're not hired to map it. They're not interested in that. They're the rescue team, and they failed. So they make their way all the way back up to the first level, return to the village from which they were hired, and report the bad news, and refuse to take any pay for their efforts. Well, that is episode 4 of my solo RPG one-shot Dungeon Delves, and that was featuring Tiny Dungeon 2E by Gallant Knight Games. I hope you enjoyed that. Let me know how you feel my magic rules work. Let me know how you feel about my armor rules, if you want. If not, thank you for watching regardless. Thank you so much for all that you do. Anybody out there that's been supporting my channel, I truly appreciate it. I hit 2,000 subscribers. I couldn't be happier. Thank you so much for that. It's so great. The more people I have to share this with, the better. And I thank you all for watching. And until next time, keep on rolling dice and playing games. Magehammer out.